All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Waconia Wrestling Podcast. We are recording live here, but we're in a little bit of a delayed fuse in terms of us sharing this video, so you'll be coming out in a couple of days from now, but this is recording this on August 16th. But I am joined today here by our youth head coach, co-ed program youth head coach Neil Voss, as well as our brand new girls program head coach / director Brian Moyer. So how's it going, guys?
It's going well. How are you, Jeff?
Doing well. I appreciate you guys doing this. We've done a little. It's only taken us about 90 minutes to set up.
It's a lot of equipment to do this thing.
This is among the first times we've tried to go with the three audio interfaces and didn't quite get there this time. We've got 2.5 here. So, but we're getting better. We're learning, we're growing, and we'll get better next time with it. But wanted to, again, this is part of the series to help our wrestling community get to know just all the great individuals we have, and you guys are among the top. Apologies for having to follow most recently Tyler Wagner and Coach Avery, but I know you guys are up to the task, and it's going to be a lot of fun talking with you guys about just our theme for this episode is going to be kind of past, present, future about the program. So before we get into that, Neil, first start us off. Just tell us just about your wrestling background and kind of your history in the youth program that I think spans the last 9-10 years.
Right. I've got 3 boys that are in the program. They're going to be 9th, 6th, and 4th grade. Like you said, I probably started good 9-10 years ago when my oldest started wrestling. I did join the Waconia Wrestling Board to help out and with tournaments or fundraising. That's kind of where I got my start in it. I was previously, when I went to high school myself or was in school myself, I wrestled K through 12, played football as well as baseball. So I was a 3-sport athlete going through high school and always kind of gravitated towards wrestling. But my start here at Waconia was on the board. I was probably on the board for 5 or 6 years up through COVID, and then eventually stepped down from the board and took over as the youth head coach.
Brian, tell us about you've been in the program at least again another 9-10 years, right?
Yeah, we moved to Waconia about 9 years ago, and Mitchell and Jacob were wrestling, so I was helping in the room, not to the extent that I had the last few years, but have 5 kids in the program now. So Mitchell and Jacob been in it for about 8 years. Caroline was in it for 2 years, the rest of last year, and Isabel felt left out. She was the only kid in the family that wasn't wrestling, so she's going to give it a shot this year.
And Marissa.
And Marissa.
Yes. Yeah. And Marissa just started.
Marissa started last year.
Yep. We'll get into more of that because I know we're excited to be referenced on this podcast. All of them, I'm sure, but I know the girls especially. But that'll be among our themes, talking about, we're at a really interesting, not going to say crossroads, but more of a, growth branch of the Waconia wrestling tree this year, in that, we've had girls in our program, but we're really focusing more on growing that part of the program this year more formally and having dedicated girls practices. We had the girls only camp this, what was it, maybe 3 weeks ago. And Brian, you were instrumental in that. And given the expansion of our girls only program, Neil's now that, we want to make sure people are aware co-ed is how we've always been wrestling. And then we're going to specialize and have unique practices that are just girls only. Make you feel. So talk, Brian, a little bit about, what's been the inspiration for that and over the last, year.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah. So obviously having daughters that wrestle, gives me a lot of inspiration to see the sport grow. But also just seeing how girls wrestling in general has just grown over the last couple years. So girls wrestling became a sanctioned sport 2 years ago.
Right. In Minnesota.
In Minnesota.
We're a little bit behind some of the other states, like Iowa. I think it's been sanctioned for
Had to get that plug in there, didn't you?
Yeah. State of Iowa. And then University of Iowa has their own girls program now. So.
Yep.
But anyway,
Yep.
yeah,
And
continue.
so University of Iowa, actually, Marlon Deed is wrestling for University of Iowa. So Marlon was one of the clinicians that came and ran the girls camp for us 3 to 4 weeks. So Marlon Deed and Katie Lang from Augsburg. And then starting last week, we had our first all girls practice.
Yep.
And actually pretty good turnout with 12,
just
16
under
girls.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, it was
16
a lot of
girls,
fun.
right? That's a huge turnout, and I think it'll hopefully we grow the next couple of weeks, maybe get to 20. But that opportunity for girls to practice just with other girls, I think, is a need that you unearthed really this last year as you kind of got more deeper into the sport with girls wrestling, and obviously your girls have been comfortable wrestling with boys, but some girls aren't, right?
Yep.
And that's been, if there's a way for us to grow the sport and get more girls into it, we're looking for any type of solution for it. So talk a little bit about the success and just how that all went. We had a 2-day camp, and talk a little bit more about how that all went.
Yeah, so once we had the registration set up and the numbers were coming in, at first it was 20, 30 girls. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And it kept going up, and they got up to 83 girls were registered for the camp. Not all of them came both nights, but we had about 65 the first night and 55 the second night. And these girls came from all over. We had one girl that came from Bemidji, so 4 hours away. Another girl came from Worthington. Another one came from 2 hours the other direction. So
Yeah.
they were coming from all over.
It was crazy, and some stayed the night, right, and then came the next day, right?
Yeah.
And we were blessed by having we got Brian was among the authors, and you got us a grant through Men USA Wrestling, and we were able to offer it for free, and that was, I think, a huge factor as well.
Yeah, I think so.
It was amazing to see, like, that I showed up that first night, and just not only the number of girls, but how much fun they were having. Like, there was maybe nerves for the first 5 minutes, and then there was a good amount. I guess I don't know the number, but there's quite a few that maybe never even seen a wrestling match before, but they got coaxed by one of their girlfriends to come in and check it out, and all of a sudden they're loving it. They were and the quickness that they picked up what these clinicians were showing them, it's fun to watch from not knowing what a double leg was or a single leg was, to all of a sudden it's like, wow, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good shot, and you've been in the room for 45 minutes. I mean, it was really fun to see, and it was lighthearted. Everyone was having a great time. It was very inspiring, for what that could grow to here.
Yeah, and the girls had a great time, and unsurprising to me that they picked up things so fast, because I think girls, as we've seen over the years, they mature a lot faster than us boys,
Mm-hmm.
and pay attention better. I think that, and they're able to just, I think, execute what they're seeing in front of them. And I think boys, more of that comes to some later in life, right? And so it was so fun to see that many girls, and we hope to continue to grow that this year. And so we've got these next couple of girls practices in August, and then I think we're going to probably take a pause and then see if we do another session of that or another iteration. So stay tuned for that. But for sure, in Waconia this year, we're going to have our girls only practices that start at least in the November timeframe, K through 12, and once a week, right, Brian? Is that our plan?
That's the plan. I'm trying to get one of the Augsburg female wrestlers to come and help coach those practices. It's a lot. I think it's a lot better for the girls if there's a female that's coaching them. So, and from what I saw the last couple weeks here, it makes a big difference if they can learn from one of them.
Yeah. Perfect. So, Neil, talk a little bit about, on the co-ed side, across Waconia, these last, you've been, like you said, an assistant coach and involved and on the board, and then the last 2 years been our youth head coach. So talk a little bit about, what it's been like to step into that role and, the lessons learned, the moments of exhilaration, and just kind of the fun that you've had in this role.
Yeah, like you said, I helped out in the room. We did start out. There's probably 20 plus dads that help out. Every practice, because we've got 120 kids last year in the program, split up between 3 practices. That's a lot of kids to get some one-on-one time with, or to whether it's cleaning up a move, or really breaking something down for somebody who's struggling, or maybe somebody's got this move figured out and they're more advanced and they need to see something else. So having all that help in the room definitely helps. And it was a few years back, we were getting some graduates of the program who were able to step in and be that head coach role. And then they were getting big boy jobs, and had to leave the area, or work interfered with it. And there was a point in time where it was almost every year it was a new head coach. We didn't have that stable,
I like that continuity.
So I kind of fell into the position. I was there a lot, and it worked out with my schedule that I could be in the room. It was kind of a push from Jeff to I think Jake said it in his podcast too, is everybody wants to be that assistant coach, because you can go there and you can help out, you can do your thing, but once you leave the room, you're kind of done till the next practice. I'm getting a lot better at emails. I'm not quite at the Jeff Catherman level of emails, but there's a lot more coordination that goes on afterwards, whether it's hooking up with Apple Valley to set up a tournament, or setting up wrestle offs, or there's just a lot of things that people don't physically see, as far as in a normal room with practice. But yeah, it's been good. Like I said, I can't do my job without the other dads in that room.
Talk about maybe some don't realize how many other coaches do we have in the program that help out on a volunteer basis?
I bet there's 25 at least.
Like that.
And we're running 3 practices. We've got a pre-KK group that Trevor Kruger and Jake Avery kind of lead that room. John May helps out with the intermediate group. Brian helps out in there. We've got, like I said, there's 25. I could list names forever, and then it's just wherever we can get that help, it's great. And it's all volunteer guys. They love being in the room. They love the sport. We've got guys who were All-Americans. We've got guys who wrestled in college, D2, D1. It's just the amount of knowledge in that room is crazy. I mean, you look at
about half have college experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
None of us included.
None of us. We were joking around. We're probably the least decorated.
We're in charge? No.
But yeah, it's just great because getting into that coaching role is not the end all be all. I don't have the answer, so I'll go to somebody like a John May or a Nate Matoshik or Avery, Derek Sikora, a lot of these guys that have been there and they're still doing it, and I'm bouncing ideas off them, or questioning myself, hey, is this a good practice plan? And just having that support system is awesome, and that's what makes this all work well.
And what people don't realize, and I think, not to give away all of our secrets, but I think we all want to grow the sport as well. One, I think, reason for getting all the help now is a couple of years ago, especially I think it started during COVID when we went and were practicing outside of the district facilities. We ended up, well, just because of the COVID restrictions, we started a rule of no parents in the room. Because at one point, well, number one, we didn't have, well, this was probably the year before COVID, but we had so many kids in the room and we just didn't have room in the rooms physically for the parents and then their siblings to be hanging out.
Right.
So we're at a space issue. And so we said, for those that want to be in the room, then we need coaching help. So, put your name in as a volunteer, go through background checks, USA Wrestling certification, etc. And you can help us. And it's been a win-win across the board because the doors are open to people. It's still open door, but you can see what's going on. But we've removed some distractions, right? Or some, our parents, we love watching the kids, but sometimes our kids are better off with us not there, right?
Yep.
And watching every move and saying you're drilling cradles and instead of high crotches, that kind of started this culmination of we got a lot more dads and parents helping out, and it's been a great success, and we've been blessed with having a lot of knowledge of the sport as well. I've mentioned the credentials of some of our coaches, so it's been fun to do that. The youth programs had an interesting history. We've had our ups and downs. A couple of years we didn't make it to state, but this last season was pretty special. Can you explain, run through with the audience, for those that were, under a rock somewhere, what happened this season? What were some of the highlights?
Yeah, it was kind of weird, I've talked to the other coaches. I've talked to Jeff. We talk about these things in the off season, and what our season could look like next year. Jeff is a little bit more into that, slating like down to the match. I think we can win this one against St. Michael Albertville, and I don't quite break it down that far. But we did very well at the brawl.
What's the brawl?
The brawl is.
Those that are new parents maybe either.
Yes. So anyone who doesn't know the brawl, it's a tournament held in St. Michael. It's 48 team tournament.
How many?
48.
How do they fit so many in?
Well, they have a monster
activity
center. But it's 16 mats in one room and 4 in the other. It's an all day event. I believe they've claimed to be the Guinness World Book, world's largest wrestling tournament for many years. It's you get put into a pool, you wrestle through your pool, and then you kind of go into a bracket. We wrestled well there. I think we ended up. What do we finish? Is it bracket F or bracket?
Yeah, I think we finished fifth.
So whatever bracket that was, we were our bracket champion.
Bracket or
fifth overall out of 48 teams, which was surpassed my expectation, and I believe it blew a lot of the other coaches away. Looking at that team on paper, we as coaches saw they were good, but in years past, we've had what we'd call murderer's row. We'd get to that 80-pound weight class, and we were going to win the next 6. There's just no doubt. We were stacked from there on up. This year, I don't want to say we had holes in our lineup. It was just, if we lost at 80, that 88-pounder was picking them up. We would lose a match we maybe shouldn't have, or maybe didn't think we were going to, and another teammate would come out of the woodwork and fight for their team.
A lot of experience.
A lot of experience there, and that's kind of what happened down at Min USA State and NY State, placing 4th at those tournaments. It was the same thing. We didn't have the same group of wrestlers winning every single match. It was a complete team effort, which was awesome to see. was a little nerve wracking in the corner because you're like, oh no, I thought we were going to win that match. And, but then you pick up the next two that you thought were going to be going the other way. So they really band together as a team this year. I mean, it's probably a really good cohesiveness as far as the boys and girls on that team this year that maybe we didn't have in the past, but the heart was there, the drive, the wanting. The kids on that team, I would watch them do an individual tournament. And I don't want to say they weren't trying hard, but they were trying extra hard when they were wrestling for the team.
Right.
They fought harder off their back. They shot harder for their takedowns. I mean, it's just they weren't so worried about letting themselves down as they didn't want to let their teammates down, which in this, it's basically an individual sport, but when you get that team aspect in it, they were really fighting for each other, which was cool to see. So we did finish the best we have, or tied the best we have as a club at those tournaments, and I'm excited for this year. I think we're scheduled to have 16 sixth graders come back this year, which would be the biggest sixth grade class in my 10 years that I've seen come through. So I think they're all ready to go, and they've got some unfinished business that they want to take care of this year.
Yeah, no, it was awesome, and appreciate the kids really. Going back to our last discussion on the lack of continuity, and we had great coaches, but we just had a string of just one head coach per year for so many years, and it's been really great to have you as a stable leader. And the kids have really, they wrestle hard for you with your voice in the corner, and I think your relationship skills with the kids in your unique way with a bit of sarcasm and dry humor is you have a way of reaching the kids and getting them the best version of themselves, and we probably don't say that enough, so we wanted to say that on our podcast here. We appreciate you, and it's been a lot of fun to see you grow as a leader, and we know there's many more years ahead, we hope. So
yeah, I think back, I don't know, it's probably 3 or 4 years ago. I remember there was a practice. I forget who was the head coach, but he said, Neil and Brian, you guys are going to run the practice tonight. And Neil and I both look at each other and like, what? But I look at how far you've come from 4 years ago to where you are now, and it's pretty amazing.
So Brian, yeah, what were you're in the corner of a lot of kids' matches this year. What other feedback or highlights that stick out for you this year?
Well, I think that match at state was probably the big
Which
match.
the match.
The match. The match where Jeff jumped about 10 feet in the air.
This seems like fake news.
Well, I think we can find some archive video, but it was a great match against Casson Manorville.
I'm a little excited. Segway comes out every maybe 10 years, 5-10 years. But we had a fun duel with our friends from down south, Casson Manorville, and I don't think we'd ever beaten them before as a program. And not that we thought about that going in, but just looking back, I don't think we had. And we don't wrestle them that much, but it was. I mean, the team this year it's one of those once every 10-year, maybe beyond type teams where they just had a lot of special sauce that they all brought in, and not tons of stars, right? But
Right.
They all were super hardworking kids, and I'm thankful that I think we did a fairly good job of getting the best out of them, especially at the state time, and and then we rested.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, like going back to your stars, we had a few that would wrestle well, but there wasn't too many teams that had the gas tank like us. They weren't going to outwork us. I mean, they might have been a little better in technique. And each individual wrestler kind of grows at their own pace, and how much work and time they put into their technique and their footwork. So, there were some matches that we did lose on just technique or just being raw, being new to the sport. But I don't know that we lost a match because we had a wrestler that was too tired or didn't put the effort in. I mean, and that was really cool to see. I'm not a huge stats guy, or most of the kids, when I ask them, hey, how'd you do this weekend, or did you have fun? They're like, well, I got first place. I didn't ask that. Did you have fun this weekend? Well, yeah, I had fun. Okay, now what place did you get? There's never my first question is, what play? It was, did you work hard? Did you learn something? And that hopefully is starting to stick with them. That it's cool to get first place. It's cool to get that big trophy. But I had kids come up that were like, first wrestling match that we held. We try and get our wrestlers to come out to that Ken Bach Memorial Tournament. It's littered with coaches. I think we have all 25, 27, 28 coaches, at their disposal. We try and set up a couple coaches at each mat. So parents who never wrestled, know nothing about wrestling, but their kid wanted to join, we're right there at the mat. We're coaching them. We've been in the room working with them. So mom and dad can sit back with grandma and grandpa or whoever, watch their kid wrestle. And some of these kids, they're pretty nervous and they'd come out, but, one kid in particular, didn't win a single match, but you can see from his first match to his second to his third, just the growth in 3 wrestling matches in the matter of a half hour. The confidence went up. I mean, the technique didn't get any better, but the confidence, the hustle, the skill, and the smile on his face when look at my medal. It didn't matter what it could have said, first, fourth, fifth, 108th. I mean, he was just excited. Like, I worked for this. I earned this. I might not have won a match, but I worked hard and I earned this. So that, those are the little things that are cool to see as a coach, and just being around these kids as they're starting in that pre-K and graduating the 6th grade program and then heading on to that high school program with Coach Hackman and his crew up there. So
yeah, it's the process piece, right? And we have a lot of kids. Done a really good job these last couple of years of getting kids to that competitive level. And we have a burgeoning group of kids that are probably still at that beginner, brand new level. We hope are coming back. And I think this year we're probably going to do a little bit more structuring of opportunities for those novice level kids and or intermediate, get the right level of competition for them to continue their span of development, right? And so we're hopefully going to get back the Chanhassen and the Delano scrimmages that we've had in the past. So more to come on that. That's a to-do item for me and some of our other coaching staff to kind of help put those together again. But I think that's for those that aren't on the competitive dual team, there's a role for every kid in the program. It's every kid's on a different journey, right?
Right.
And everybody, matures differently at different times and also just catches fire on the sport a little bit differently. Brian, talk a little bit about, what you've seen relative to your kids and or, the kids you've coached navigating that kind of journey from novice to intermediate to then advanced level.
Yeah, so I think back to some of the kids like I think Joe Alger. When he started, he.
Shout out to Joe.
Yeah,
go watch the podcast. You're on it.
Iowa Joe.
He's come a long ways, and I've talked with his mom and dad about that too, and just
100%.
So impressed.
State finalist this year.
Yeah.
Never medaled before.
Look where he started and where he came. What he came to. I know. There's a lot of kids like that you think back to when they're early wrestlers and their first year and how much they grow every year. But we've talked about it that it's it's not a It's not a sprint; it's a marathon. And I think
Right. Yeah.
those kids are good examples of that. They don't go from being a beginner to being the best wrestler the next year. It takes 5 or 6 years, and I think we just need to keep reminding kids of that. Is you're not going to be this all-star wrestler in 1 year.
And that's part of it. Is we're doing something wrong, or not doing something wrong, but you don't want your wrestler to peak at grade 4 or grade 5 or grade. I mean, we're setting that ground level, that base level of getting good work ethic, putting the time in, putting the effort in, practicing your shots, conditioning. We even do a little bit of nutrition talk, about putting good things in your body. You're going to feel better.
I think we have some plans to continue that. There's a huge room for us to be able to do that. And we have some great partners at like TCO Training House and that sports nutrition group. We're hoping to get them a little more exposure this year to kids
right
doing it the right way.
Because we've had many talks where it's, hey, we just got done with the duel, and you look at some of these wrestling tournaments and it's shaved ice, mini donuts. It's like, okay, we got to wrestle again. Don't be filling up and have an orange. When we're done wrestling, then maybe you could have a mini donut or
what's on the menu, saturated fats.
or a slice of pizza. But yeah, it's always an adventure.
Yeah, and I think something that we've done a fairly good job of is preaching to not only kids but also the parents of this concept of growth mindset. Right? We want to not focus on, like, if I just am only concerned about what place I'm getting or I want to who I'm wrestling. We got to focus on what we can control, right? And every kid, Joe Elder as a great example, can get to the best version of themselves by focusing on things that are in their control, working hard, learning, problem solving. Like, why am I getting taken down? Is my sprawl not good? Do I have a leg attack, or am I just trying to throw kids all over the place? Learning the techniques as they get older. I think these are things that, are the solutions for kids helping get to the next level, and just navigating these other things we talked about. So,
and like you said, it's even you have to set realistic goals.
Yeah.
Like Joe Elder in 3rd grade, you can't say I'm going to be a state champion. How about, I want to win 2 matches at, regionals, or you have to set those goals, so they're achievable. You don't want to make them easy, but let's make them realistic. That's,
you're not going to climb Mount Everest most likely on your first try.
Right.
Your first day. You have to acclimate. You have to kind of go to camp 2, back to camp 1, back to camp 3, 2, then back to 1. And, kind of like phase in and get to each level. But in the end, there's things that you need to do personally to do that, right? It's not just I want it. Wanting it is good, but
and wrestling is a sport that it's a grind, and you work for. I mean, you earn it. It's not, you got other sports, baseball, football. I mean, you can go 0 for 4 in baseball with 4 strikeouts and still win a state tournament.
Yeah.
And that's not, wrestling is very much individual, and you're in control of your own destiny. It's what you put in is what you're going to get out. And, it's like we said, it's cool to see, some of those 6th graders every year, they might not start, real hot in 6th grade, but you kind of see that transformation, once we get into that 2nd season and they start thinking about more goals or start thinking about, where they want to end up. Just that transformation, even in that one season of, maybe they're screwing off a little less in practice. Maybe they're putting in a little more work at home. They're doing a little more push-ups. They're doing sit-ups at home. They're, figuring out ways outside of the room how they can better themselves.
So, Brian, I'm going to switch to kind of, talk about future state. We've talked about kind of past, present, start talking about future. It's our, theme of our podcast tonight. let's talk about not only for co-ed but girls. What do you? What are some things that you're looking forward to this year relative to this upcoming season?
So last year was really the first year that I had the opportunity to coach these all girls teams. So
Talk a little bit about that. Was that you had for NYWA there? We normally compete as a school based criteria and eligibility.
Yep.
And NYWA allowed for girls dual teams by region. So you had to just be geographically in that region. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
And there were 4?
And there was 6.
6, got it.
And that was at state. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. We had a couple other opportunities throughout the year where we basically took all these girls from different towns and formed teams, and then other teams did the same thing. So
And had dual meets.
And we had dual meets,
Yeah.
right? So we wrestled these other all girls teams, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's obviously it's fun, watching the girls wrestle with boys too. But when it's girls wrestling girls, it's a whole different aspect.
I walked over during that state tournament to the girls' room where they had it, and that atmosphere was just completely different. I mean, it was fun. The girls were having fun. It was just
fun.
It was just awesome to see, and I mean, they were competitive. They were competitive with each other, but just they all became friends, and it was like they were talking to each other, high-fiving other teams. I mean, it was just the atmosphere was second to none. It was just really cool to just be a little fly on the wall and watch, what was going on in there. And I think that's what can happen here in Waconia with the girls.
If this podcast feedback is back to our Mid USA friends, I think that's something that they can model as some type of dual format. And they've got both Mid USA and the NYWA organizations have their own state tournament processes that are open tournaments for the girls. But that dual, there's nothing better than a dual. I think it's one edge we have as a wrestling sport that a lot of other sports kind of lack is the excitement of a duel. Your best wrestler at each weight class going out after it, and then you get more points for pins versus you winning by 15 or more, or winning by less. You get more points for your team the better you do. And talk a little bit about what else.
Well, I guess so. That's kind of the dual format. We touched a little bit on the individual too. So if I go back 2 years when Caroline started wrestling, there was maybe 2 or 3 all girls tournaments throughout the whole season, right? And then the next year there was 6, right? And then the next year it was almost every weekend there was an all girls tournament. It wasn't a dual tournament, a team tournament, but all girls individual tournament. So I'm looking forward to that. This year I expect there's probably going to be even more than there was last year. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for, if girls aren't comfortable wrestling boys, which I know there's a lot of girls in that, completely understandable, they can go to these all girls tournaments and get that opportunity. So looking forward to that and seeing hopefully a lot more girls in the Waconia program. Last year we had 4, maybe 5 girls throughout the entire program. It'd be great to see that double this year.
Right.
So that's big thing I'm looking forward to, is just seeing the numbers grow here in Waconia.
Yeah. And our oldest girl and that we've had in our youth program is we have one that's a 6th grader this year. We might have 2 actually. And so among the many reasons we want to make sure there's a nucleus of girl partners and other things that can follow. And I'm predicting as well that Coach Hackman will have, quite a few 7th through 12th grade girls coming out this year, given the momentum we have. At least we hope, right? And we'll continue to work on that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Hopefully, I know there was 6 junior Waconia girls at the camp. So there is the interest there.
And some of them are gymnasts that were there, but
Yep.
maybe we could get them to double up.
Some were swimmers. Yeah, I mean,
Swimmers, yeah. Yeah. Swimming, is that a winter sport? Is that fall?
swimming is fall, so
Okay.
that should be wrapped up.
I believe it if in that high school side it might have a 2-week crossover from swimming, diving to
Yeah.
wrestling.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
can certainly make it work.
Neil, future, what's this year look like for co-ed, the co-ed side?
For the like I said, we've got
Similar schedule?
similar schedule. We tend to do that preseason tournament down in Apple Valley. That's always kind of the see where we're at.
For our competitive kids.
for our
that are-
competitive kids, correct. Kind of keeping the same schedule as last year as far as our dual team stuff. We'll hit the brawl again. Some of those other big tournaments. And then we do host our own individual tournament.
In
It's
January,
a Min USA qualifier. And we try to get as many of our Waconia kids out. I would like to see this year, maybe we get a few more kids into the competition. There's some kids in the last few years we didn't really push competing. It was let's practice, let's get to know the sport, let's get to know the scoring. But I think we gain a lot of knowledge, win or lose, in a wrestling match. I mean, there's a lot of things in that 3-minute match that it can uncover about a wrestler that we can't do in 3 hours in a room. They get put in situations that they're not used to. And then it's really nice to talk to the wrestlers after that, because Waconia wrestlers don't lose, they learn. We I like to stress that let's talk about that match. Let's figure that out. And in years past, we've always had this second crop of kids that always fighting to be on that dual team. We were always reloading that team every year, and I'd like to get back to that point where we have our younger group,
Yeah,
maybe doing
ready to step in.
2 or 3 more tournaments than you did last year. And it's not about results, but it's that nervousness. You go to some of these tournaments and it's complete chaos. I mean, there's dads foaming at the mouth, yelling. It's loud. It's crazy. It's navigating weigh-ins and skin checks and what mat am I supposed to be at? It gets easier with every match. I mean, a kid starts in kindergarten. By the time he gets to 6th grade, I mean, he zones it all out. They know where they're supposed to go. They know what they're supposed to do. That's something, as coaches and Jeff does, with email. I think you even have some videos out there on how to navigate a tournament. It's just, we got to get out there. We got to do them, and you got to, you become an expert in a hurry. And that wrestling community, whether it's Waconia or any of our surrounding areas, I mean, you ask any mom, dad at these tournaments, and everyone's willing to help. Where's staging, or I don't know how the scoring. I mean, the people that are in wrestling love the sport. They want to see it continue to grow, and there is help from, like I said, all clubs. They're just, I've helped out kids from many other clubs. That's just, I don't have a coach. I'm like, well, none of our wrestlers are wrestling now. And you jump in, and it's helping them, love the sport and continue to grow, because there's nothing worse than the quiet kid just slowly quits and doesn't want to be part of it because he didn't get the attention he or she needed. So you don't want them to leave a sport for that reason. I mean, wrestling isn't for everybody. It's tough. It's one-on-one combat. I mean, essentially it's tough, but we like to have a lot of fun in the room. We try and we work hard, but we try and keep it light. We're playing dodgeball and these sharks and minnow games, and just we try and keep it as fun as we can. But
Tug of war.
Yep, that's always fun.
we're getting a little bit late into the hour, but wanted to finish up with something I'm trying to do with our interviewees, which is the rapid fire questions.
Well, maybe before we get to that, we do have that Try Wrestling Clinic.
Yes,
coming up. Is it 23rd?
It'll be September 25th.
25th of September.
We have kind of the flyer ready to go to we're going to kind of do a more social media campaign. We have a bunch of yard signs that we're the friends at Franklin Printing are printing for us, and then we're going to be starting a big marketing push in the next week or so. And so we'll be hearing more about that. But thank you for the reminder on September 25th. It'll be a Monday. It's our annual free clinic, Try Wrestling. We also want to have our returning kids come back for the more experienced wrestlers. Our Coach Hackman and Sikora have been putting them through kind of a high school paced practice, just kind of a good workout. And then we have usually Coach Avery and yourself helping with for those that are new.
And that's a great night for anybody who's on the fence or any girl that's thinking about joining the program. It's a one night. We set up mats in the big gym at the high school, and we just kind of run through a fun little practice and roll around, kind of see what wrestling really is. And we have a pizza party afterwards,
right?
And it's just free. Just come out, check it out, talk. There's a lot of the wrestling moms are there, the dads,
Yeah, and we're getting more and more parents and kids that are brand new to the sport. Almost every year, I'd say we get 40 to 50, and we really try to funnel our marketing efforts to that clinic, right?
Right.
To just experience firsthand, because let's be honest, wrestling's not the most mainstream sport, and so people might have some misconceptions on it. They think it's Brock Lesnar jumping from the top rope. I don't think he's still wrestling. It shows you how much I watch WWE or whatever, but so it's not that.
No. But yeah, definitely come out, check it out, bring the kids and just talk to the people that are there. We've all started in that, the position that a new parent is in. We've got a handful of parents that, they played basketball in high school and never been, they don't know anything about wrestling, and, they've come to love it and be, huge supporters, and it's great. That's why we're there. Is you don't, as a parent, have to be a wrestling coach. You don't need to know anything about wrestling.
Right.
We take it from there. You get into the room, and we'll help train you up on the way. If you want to know, and some parents just like to sit back and watch, and that's awesome too.
Yeah, we had Cook family this year, brand new to wrestling early. I think Mike might have wrestled way back in the day, but just jumped in and did everything from beginning soup to nuts, and little kindergartner placed fifth at state. So that could be you. It's new parents, but it's we make it easy, I think, in Waconia Wrestling to navigate and to jump in and survive and navigate this little bit of a sport that could be intimidating, right?
And I guess one thing we didn't touch on or talk about, maybe did in previous podcasts, is with wrestling, there you can wrestle as much or as little as you want. Starting from the beginning of our season, there is a tournament every Friday, Saturday, Sunday through until April.
Right.
We've had some kids who would do only the Waconia tournament. I mean, it's not a set schedule like any of the other sports where you're gonna have a game, Thursday night. You're gonna have a game Sunday. You can pick and choose the tournaments you want to go to. We've got a lot of good clubs around. We've sent a lot of kids to Watertown Mayor tournament, to Chaska Chan tournament. Buffalo is a big one. So there's quite a few close tournaments that you don't have to be, running the Metro baseball circuit and going down to wherever, Rochester, to play a 2-hour baseball game. You can certainly pick and choose where you want to go, and
you can navigate the sport at the pace you want.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so we are getting a little bit late, so maybe I will spare you guys the rapid fire questions, but maybe do another time. Again, we probably will do. We really like this format to be able to get the word out and spread, internally, but also externally. We're always kind of looking to recruit new people in sports, so we're hoping this venue and this medium can reach those of you that are new to the program or maybe haven't checked us out in a while. But guys, as we wrap up, work on your closing thoughts as we think ahead to the season and other topics.
I'm excited. It's right around the corner. We got school starting in 12, 14 days, something like that for my kids, and I'm excited to get back in the room. I know a lot of the kids have been doing open mat stuff. They've been working throughout the summer, so I'm really interested to see the gains they made over the summer, and I'm really excited for new faces and new kids to join that. Just join the program. Come give it a try, and like I said, we find these new kids every year, and it's great, and they kind of stick with it, and it's fun following along with them and watching that growth in the sport. And like we've mentioned before, it's all of us coaches and parents and dads and moms, we're all over books. I mean, people have questions. I mean, hit us up and see us on the streets. Email us. Go to our website. We're right there to answer any questions that you might have when it comes to wrestling, because some people are nervous or don't know how to get into it. So
yep, for our advanced kids, or at least our kids in that 3rd through 6th grade, it's probably the sweet spot. Kids that wrestled before, we're going to continue to have our preseason program begin probably middle of October, right around probably after the MEA break. And then something new this year, I don't know, Brian, you're probably not aware of this, but Neil is, we are going to be partnering with TCO Training House on the strength training program in the preseason, and then also during the season for kids 3rd through 6th grade to go practice or to strength train at TCO at the facility there right by Target. So that's something new this year. We're kind of working on the final details of that, but stay tuned for that. So nothing stops. We just keep pushing the envelope of more things for our plate.
I was gonna say that I've seen a lot of the kids working hard this summer.
Yeah.
Whether it's at open mat, whether it's see them running, whether you see them weightlifting. I mean, we're just getting outside and doing stuff. So I've seen a lot of the wrestlers getting at it. So I'm excited for the season to start, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Definitely transitioned the last probably 2 years to that year-round program offerings. Not that we are requiring kids to, but we're making those opportunities available for kids that want to get better. There's really no excuse if you're looking for ways to get better. We have thousands.
We have the resources. Yes, absolutely.
Well, cool. Appreciate it, guys. It's been a great discussion here. We'll have to do this again sometime. I enjoy the conversation. I could talk thousands of hours about this, and I think you guys did well following some pretty good podcasts.
Some heavy hitters, yeah.
So maybe we'll have to discuss with anybody how we did after this. But your answers were definitely shorter, which gives you a higher mark. So perfect. So appreciate everyone for tuning in, and man, it's so fun to do these podcasts. Please keep sharing feedback with us and keep doing it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.